Hey everybody, it's Cynthia Porter with Visit Winona. Happy to be back. Emily Skeels did our Facebook Lives for the last couple of weeks and she did a great job. I was watching, but I'm glad to be back myself today because it's a beautiful day in Winona. It's the middle of October and everything around us is turning gold. It's a little bit crisp, so I'm wearing a coat. But we are at the Lefty Himes Memorial Deer Park and also Prairie Island Park, two separate spaces that are actually right next to each other. This park is one of the little known parks, I think, in Winona, but it's very popular with small families. They come for a little playground. There's horseshoe pits here. There's also a giant green space that a lot of people will come and do training with their dogs. I see people running with dummies and their dogs out there. There's hiking trails out here. There's bird watching for you bird nerds, and I can only say that because I am one. There's some bird feeders over here that are well filled all winter long, and they bring in all kinds of interesting birds looking for a little bite to eat. So Emily's just going to give you a look around the space that's technically Prairie Island Park. There's also a shelter here. I've rented this shelter. It's great inside. I rented it for a graduation party for one of my kids, and you can get that through the city's Park and Rec department on their website. Not sure if they rent it in the winter months, but for the summertime it was a fantastic thing. So let's have a look around this little park for a second, and then we're gonna go check out some deer. Okay, so this deer park is a little bit of an oddity today, but when it was originally set up here, it was the rage everywhere, apparently, in the Midwest, because people weren't really able to see things like deer themselves. So cities like Winona and Arcadia and other small towns in the region all had deer parks. Where they got the first deer, I don't know. But there's been deer here ever since. That was 1961. The Isaac Walton League set this deer park up. That's a conservation group. In the 1970s, it was named after a fellow named Henry Himes, whose nickname was Lefty, and he was an outdoor writer for the Winona Daily News. Must have been a deer guy. So they named this park after him. Today, we think that there's 3 deer in here right now. We're not 100% sure, but they did have more deer earlier in the year and last year. There were some issues, unfortunately, with chronic wasting in the region, and so I believe that they lost 3 of the deer that they had here through that issue. Now these deer, they believe, have no access to chronic wasting because they're isolated entirely from other deer populations. And the reason that the other 3 deer were vulnerable is because they had apparently come from a facility in which chronic wasting had been discovered. So for those of you wondering where the white deer is, she was one who had come from a deer farm or park or rehabilitation center of some kind, and she was a victim of being part of that herd. Okay, I'm talking quieter because I see the deer, all 3 of the deer that we think there's only 3, standing really close to the fence, so I don't want to scare them away. I have in my hands sunflower seeds because deer like them, and I didn't have any corn. But I'm not sure if these deer are the friendly sort or the shy sort. They have both out here. So we'll see. I don't want to scare them away because I want you to be able to see them. So I won't offer them any of these seeds unless they really seem like they're hungry. But I'm going to have Emily just kind of scoot up real quiet and show you the deer. you guys, I'm gonna talk quiet, but I'll stand closer. You can keep looking at this beautiful buck, and I'll tell you a couple of things that I know. That little hill that you see standing behind the buck, that is what has kept these deer dry times when there've been really high water. I've only seen them really have to just take to the top of the hill. A couple of times there was some flooding in the 2000s that put water on a lot of the ground inside the deer park, but that high hill kept them very well protected. These deer have been such a popular item in Winona's past that the newspapers used to report the birth of fawns, when the bucks were dehorned, how their health was, what their weight was. I'm not sure if these deer have names that anyone particularly knows, but one time when I was working for the newspaper, I interviewed the caretaker of these deer out here, and that would have been probably in the middle 2000s, and he cared so much about them, and I think that he did have names for them, nicknames for them, for each of them, because they are so well cared for that they live for a very long time in this deer park. I know that at some point, I think in the 1990s, someone felt that it wasn't right to have deer in pens, and so they cut an opening in the deer park fencing to let the deer out. It's my understanding that a couple of deer left and the rest stayed because they have it pretty good right here. So they're not terribly unhappy creatures. His rack is so big and beautiful because they are so well fed. They have what looks to be probably a couple of acres of space inside of here, and there's a shelter in the center of it that they can go to in inclement weather. Also lots and lots of trees. Sometimes wild turkeys come in here and hang out with them. This deer park is free. You can come and wander around here. I see people here all the time because still today, where is it that very many people, especially people with children, are going to be able to come and see deer? So there's been some conversation about possibly not continuing to support a deer park in Winona. I'm not really sure what's going to happen with that because that's a conversation happening at the city council level, but I can tell you from the people that you'll see walking around out here while we're out here, they love it. And it's kind of an interesting spot to come see wildlife. I'll tell you a funny story. I brought my daughters here often, and we would bring corn and sunflower seeds and things like that. And the deer at certain points were so friendly; they would just come up and eat it straight from your hand through the fence. And my daughter didn't know she was allergic till deer licked her hand and then her eyes swelled shut. So yeah, so some people are allergic to deer. Who knew? And I guess you wouldn't know that unless you were, I suppose, deer hunter or something. But these deer are not coming up to the fence, but they're not terribly afraid of us either. They get a chance to see a lot of people. So I see the does coming back over to the side. Maybe Emily can get one more look at them too before we go. So we're just going to walk up the fence line a little bit. I don't think that there's more deer back there. These deer, by the way, do reproduce. They create their own herd inside of this boundary. I guess there weren't fawns this year, but very often you can come out here in like June-ish and see some little babies that are running around, and that's lots and lots of fun. So we'll just walk up a little bit and have a look at kind of their shelter and some other areas of this beautiful park. I will tell you, if you are a birder, I have seen lots of migration coming through here, and there's also every kind of woodpecker I think that Minnesota has, I've seen at this park, including red-headed woodpeckers, red-breasted woodpeckers, downy woodpeckers, hairy woodpeckers, and I believe I saw a pileated woodpecker. I didn't get a picture of it because they're pretty shy birds, but I saw it flying, and I'm about 99% sure that's what it was. So if you're a bird fan, this is a fantastic spot. Also, if you are a hiker, all the way around this, maybe Emily can show you inside the enclosure a little bit. It's quite a large space for these deer. There's two parts. There's a front and a back. They can actually separate the deer if they need to for some reason. But spinning off from the back side of this, there's several different trails that you can hike on. It also backs up to a backwater area of the Mississippi River that is beautiful, and you can go and see a lot of birds migrating through there too. I've seen some really fantastic ducks, mergansers, and ducks that I don't even know what they were, but they were beautiful coming through in the late fall last year, because we are on the Mississippi River Flyway, and I think the estimates are in the millions of actual birds that will fly through this area on their way somewhere in the spring and in the fall. So just that little bit about birds for the bird watchers out there. This is the back side of the enclosure. As you can see, it's pretty wild. They don't do much to maintain it. They let what grows in there grow, and it looks like some trees have come down that they'll probably cut up and take away. The turkeys that I've seen here like to go up in those trees and roost, and they probably, I don't know how much grain these deer get, but those turkeys are probably getting a little bit of that themselves. We won't walk all the way around the enclosure. Hey Emily, just show them all the way back how deep this is, and it's not quite as wide as it is deep, but it's a really big space. So we'll just walk back up this way a little bit. I see some people came to see the deer. Every week we go wherever you tell us to go for Facebook Live, and this week you wanted us to come here. I hope you enjoyed this look. It's a fun place. It's so peaceful. A lot of people come out here to just sit. There's benches, and they can watch the deer, they can meditate, they can watch birds, read a book. It's really beautiful and quiet. And you get here just coming on a Prairie Island Road from River Road that leads into downtown. Easy access, totally free. Cool way to spend a day in Winona. So we are looking forward to where you want us to go next time. And you're just going to have to tell us. You have to vote in the comments to nominate places. Where should we go? Then the places that have been nominated the highest number of times, they'll go off as finalists in a poll that we'll put up on our Facebook page. And then you have to vote. So we get some phone calls and messages from people asking how do they get a spot into a Facebook Live episode. And the way to do it is nominate it and then tell your friends, and then everybody vote for it. So, so far we have been to Belado's Bakery backstage. We've been on a stained glass tour. We've been to the top of Sugarloaf. Thanks for that one. We are here at the Deer Park now. I don't know, we've been doing this for a few months, 2.5 months maybe, and we are having a blast with it, but we have so much left to see. I mean, really, we're just getting started with Winona. So tell us in the comments, where should we go next week? Emily Skeels, my fine marketing assistant, and I will fire up our Facebook Live camera, and we'll go give you a fresh live look at any place that you tell us to go. Thanks for tuning in, thanks for your support, and thanks for all your comments and for watching, and all you who contact us and say how much you love this. Thank you. We love it too, actually. We're having a good time. So tell us where to go, and we'll see you next week. Thanks.